These are the experts. But pay no attention to the fact that they're incompetent on pretty much every front. Instead, pay attention to gun control. After all, if we can emotionally manipulate you on the issue of gun control and make you believe that if you oppose the Democrats' agenda on gun control, because it makes no sense, that you are in favor of the murder of small children, then maybe we'll win some votes. So on that basis, the House passed wide-ranging gun control legislation. It is certain to fail in the Senate. This, by the way, again, just to point out the obvious, this was the top headline at the New York Times. Story number 39 was the attempted murder of a Supreme Court justice. The top story was, House passes gun control legislation, and then in parentheses, which will immediately die in the Senate. A divided House on Wednesday approved a wide-ranging package of gun control legislation in a party line vote. The measures were all but certain to go nowhere in the evenly divided Senate, where negotiations continued on more modest proposals that could draw bipartisan support necessary to move forward. They tried to ban high-capacity magazines. They also attempted to formally ban bump stocks, which effectively have been banned by executive order for a while now. Also, they were passing a provision to raise the age of purchase of a semi-automatic rifle to 21. 9 Republicans voted in favor of that provision. A couple of Democrats opposed the provision. Again, it doesn't make any sort of intellectual sense, that provision, unless you're also willing to raise the age of voting and being drafted by the United States military to 21. Either you're an adult at 21 or you're an adult at 18. You don't get to be half an adult and half not an adult. So, again, it's pretty amazing. What the House Democrats also tried to do is tack on a measure condemning white supremacy to the gun control measure, so they could then claim that Republicans had voted in favor of white supremacy, which is just the cheapest and stupidest political trick in the book. Democrats put forward these omnibus packages that contain 1,000 provisions. You hate 999 of them. One of them is fine, and you vote against the bill. And then they're like, it's because you opposed this one provision. This is their dumb plan to win votes. It's the Democrats on gun control. They may think that they have the wind with them. They do not. Because, as always, the Second Amendment issues always break down the same way. Democrats claim that they have reasonable measures to propose. They then propose a bunch of unreasonable measures. The American people look at them. They're not so hot on the measures. And then everything sort of goes back to status quo ante. That's just the way this works. Meanwhile, actual solutions to the problems like, more armed security at schools, hardening of the actual barriers around schools, making sure there are protocols with regard to making sure doors close automatically, all this kind of stuff. And social measures like building up of families, making sure that there are solid communities that are able to spot incipient bad seeds and then report them, getting rid of all of the bad mental health laws that prevent the involuntary commitment of violent people. And all those things go completely by the wayside because it's all for rhetorical flourish, apparently. And this is what Democrats are into. They're not into answers. The most obvious example of this was yesterday. So Katie Porter, who's beloved of the progressive left, mainly because she is an MSNBC host in the guise of a congressional seat holder. She was doing a tete-a-tete with Amy Swearer from the Heritage Foundation, who is an advocate on behalf of the Second Amendment. And her entire shtick was, you're a liar, I'm going to call you a perjurer, and then I won't let you ask any questions. This is the Democratic Party on the Second Amendment. They may think this may play on Twitter. It does not play in Peoria.
You knew that the bill would allow any gun owner to maintain possession of any semi-automatic assault weapon that was lawfully possessed before the bill became law.
No, so that is the case under that bill. The problem is anytime that is transferred to anybody else.
Reclaiming my time. I asked you if that bill was correct, if the bill would allow any gun owner to maintain possession, and you said yes. Yet you testified that the bill would allow people to become felons overnight. Earlier today, you testified that you hoped that this was the last time you testified before Congress. For the sake of our nation and the integrity of this Congress,
I said
I
Congress
do too.
After a mass shooting, trying to figure out how to solve a problem that we are all heavily invested in solving.
Ms. Swearer, I have not.
Okay, and then it's amazing. Swearer says to her, can I answer the question? And Porter says, no. She says, this is my time. Porter says, this was played as victory by the left. Because apparently the left's entire agenda, in the end, the left's entire agenda when it comes to pretty much any issue is pretend the other side doesn't exist. When it comes to the transgender issue, well, pretend the other side doesn't exist, which is why they won't even review what is a woman. It's why they pretend that there is a wide spectrum of support for the idea that a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy. They just pretend the other side doesn't exist. It's why when it comes to gun control, they don't want to hear any sort of actual debate over the issues. They just want to pretend that the other side doesn't exist. And you're utterly unreasonable. And here's Matthew McConaughey, straight from the set of How to Date a Guy or Lose a Guy in 10 Days, to explain to you how all of this worked. Again, ignoring the other side is not the way that you're going to win elections, but Democrats apparently are under this wild misimpression, which is why they're still trotting out people like AOC to claim that the real problem here is gun manufacturers who are seeking blood money.
In 2020, 22.8 million guns were sold, reflecting a 64% increase from 2019, correct?
Correct.
In 1 year. And across the board, gun manufacturers and ammunition companies began to see record profits. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now let's put that into context. In 2020, again, more than 45,000 Americans died by gunfire, reflecting an almost threefold increase from 2015. Are those statistics correct?
That's accurate.
So in your view, are you seeing a correlation between gun profits and gun deaths in the United States?
Yes.
This is about blood money.
It's about blood. Okay, can we just point out here how stupid what she is saying is? So the number of guns in circulation in the United States rose dramatically between 1994 and 2013. And so did the murder rate at the same exact time declined dramatically in the United States. And then all of a sudden, Democrats started saying to cops that they shouldn't police places. And this resulted in two things. One, a bunch of people going out and buying guns because they said, if the cops can't protect us, I will protect myself. And two, more people dying because the cops weren't there to protect them. But apparently, correlation equals causation for the empty-headed congresswoman from Brooklyn, New York. She is just so off. But again, it's not about actually having a valuable discussion on these issues. It's about blood money. I have a question. Did the gun manufacturers not want to sell their weapons in 2007 or 2010 or 2012? Why did she think that there was a massive increase? It's amazing. Like she's refuting herself in those stats. Why did she think there was a massive increase in the number of guns bought in 2020? Any ideas? What could have happened in 2020 that made a lot of people want to go get guns? Could it have been an entire mass movement calling the police in the United States systemically racist and calling to defund the police and massive increases in crime that came directly from that? Huge riots in major American cities. I bought extra guns during that time. Did you? I'll bet a lot of people did. But according to her, it's because the gun manufacturers suddenly got greedy. This is always their excuse. They provide crappy economic policy. The economics of the United States turn the wrong way. They're like, corporations are greedy. But I thought it was your argument. The corporations are always greedy. So that factor didn't change. But again, none of this is about anything remotely resembling a debate. It's just about stupid political gamesmanship. And if you're talking stupid political gamesmanship, we have to go to the stupidest person on the block. That would be Joy Behar. Again, it's a running battle on The View as to who is the dumbest person on The View. At a certain point, somebody will actually reach a 0 IQ and yet still be functioning, and we will have new medical discoveries in the field. But that race to the bottom is ongoing. Here is Joy Behar making her case to be the dumbest person on that show.
Let me give you a story. There's a man in Connecticut that watched his neighbor have a home invasion and watched their whole family get killed. He built his own AR-15 because Connecticut won't let you buy them, but you can abide by rules that allow you to build them. And then he has one in his house to protect his family because he never wants to see that happen again. He is a black man. It's odd. Most AR-15 owners are former military, 35 plus and married. One more thing. So that's all I'm saying is that they're not these crazy people.
Okay. Here's the thing. Once black people get guns in this country, the gun laws will change. Trust me.
She's saying this to a person of color. Is she unaware that something like 1 in 4 black people in this country have a gun? Like lots of black people own guns. And the suggestion, of course, is that everybody who's pro-Second Amendment is anti-black people having guns. Nope. Pretty good with black people having guns and white people having guns. So long as everybody's law-abiding, get a gun. Your racism is showing again, Joy. I mean, the amount of the amount of just inherent racism on that show is insane. Between Whoopi Goldberg declaring everything in America is racist, everything in world history is racist, except for Adolf Hitler, a thing Whoopi Goldberg actually said, and Joy Behar declaring that black people, if allowed to own guns, would provide such a menace to the public that there would be changes in gun laws. How much tacit racism just goes without saying on The View? It's crazy. And bottom line is this. Democrats have a world of hurt coming for them. They have a world of hurt. And no matter the emotional manipulation, no matter the Jimmy Kimmel appearances or the Second Amendment talk and the gun control talk, no matter how much the Democrats try to claim that we have to teach radical gender theory to your children in order to protect the children. This is the case they make, which, by the way, is the most Orwellian doublethink garbage I've ever heard. To protect your kids, we need to make sure that they believe that they can be a member of the opposite sex. It's to protect the children. You guys want to play this game? You're going to pay the price. And you should pay the price. You should pay. And a compliant media that protects your rear at every available opportunity is not providing you a service. They're actually just making you weak. They're making you weak. They're destroying your immune system. The immune system of politics is the feedback loop. When there is no feedback loop, there is no immune system. And this is what the Democratic Party is suffering. They now have a fatal case of the American people not liking their ideas. The battle for the culture is heating up. We here at the Daily Wire are making some big moves. So be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, because you're not going to want to miss a single moment.